It is alleged that Angela Dickinson attempted to poison her husband with rattlesnake venom in order to get him out of the picture. Angela Dickinson was known to be able to charm any man. In fact, she managed to manipulate her stepbrother and the father of her child into murdering her own husband, Carl Dickinson. Dickinson was born in Lee County, Alabama, in 1955. Carl was making good money as a long-haul trucker by his early 40s, and, after 2 unsuccessful marriages, he began dating a 19-year-old named Angela in 2002. He was old enough to be her father and had actually dated her mother in the past. Carl and Angela were married before the end of the year, despite their age difference. Angela saw stability in Carl. When you really needed someone, Carl was the one you could turn to. It was Carl and Angela's policy to offer a place to stay to any family member in need. Jasmine Treadwell, who moved in with her children, was included in this. Jake Bartlett, Angela's stepbrother, was also an occasional guest. Paul Phillips moved in with the Dickinsons in 2006 as he was in need of a place to stay. Carl and he had met at truck driving school and frequently worked together, exchanging shifts. He and Carl seemed to be best friends. Together, they would go hunting. Treadwell told Snapped that they would go fishing together. Angela learned that she was pregnant in 2013. Friends of Angela say she was delighted to be starting a family of her own, and on the afternoon of September 8, 2013 she gave birth. Sabrina Murphy went to Dickinson's home to pick up a car seat and other baby supplies. Carl was allegedly on the road for work at the time. However, when Murphy went to the house, she discovered that the door to the garage was open. Cal Dickinson was lying on the kitchen floor, dead from numerous gunshot wounds to the head, neck, and chest. At the scene, investigators found 19 shell casings from a .22 caliber firearm. It appeared to have been a forced entry burglary, robbery gone wrong. Lee County Sheriff's Office investigator Rob Glody told producers that the residence appeared to have been ransacked, but nothing was missing. Investigators believed it was staged. Angela broke down in tears at the hospital upon learning of her husband's murder. According to her, she had gone into labor 3 days earlier and had been trying to contact Carl constantly. Angela told us that she had attempted to contact him 4 times but was unsuccessful. She did not think that was super strange because he was a truck driver and he could be out on the road without service, Glody explained. Carl was asked why she was on the road if she was about to give birth to their child. She then told Carl that he was not the father of her child. Paul Phillips was the speaker. According to Angela, Carl accepted Angela's pregnancy because he was unable to bear his own children, so to speak, Lee County Sheriff's Office Captain Jimmy Taylor told Snapped. Carl underwent a vasectomy. According to Phillips, when Angela went into labor, he left for Florida in order to pick up her stepfather, Jesse Bach, and bring him to Alabama to witness the new birth. We verified his alibi to that point, and sure enough, he had visited Florida, Lee County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Tammy Booth Hollis told Snapped. Investigators were able to reconstruct the timeline of events based on an autopsy. As per Taylor, he died on September 5. On that day, his wife, Angela, was scheduled to be induced at the hospital. Investigators were shocked to learn that Angela was pregnant after speaking with Carl's relatives. Her swollen stomach was explained to them as the result of an unknown medical issue, and that Carl believed Angela had a stomach tumor, which he believed to be cancer. In order to save money for medical treatment, he had even begun working overtime. On the other hand, Angela's family knew everything. When Carl found out that Angela and Phillips had an affair, he evicted Phillips from his residence. Phillips, however, would move back and whenever Carl was away on his trucking route. He slept in the nearby woods the remainder of the time. With a child on the way, Angela and Phillips began planning how to do away with Carl for good. Booth Hollis said that a relative of Angela's had told him that Angela had attempted to do something to Carl in the past. According to Angela's close friends, she had acquired a stash of painkillers in an attempt to poison her husband of 10 years. She would crush the pills up and place them in his food, but the plan never worked. Angela and Phillips allegedly found a dead rattlesnake on the side of the road and milked it for its venom another time. Carl was given this substance in his food, but it only made him ill. Phillips was re-interviewed on September 10. He recognized that the game was over. "We were not going anywhere. Paul was in love with Angela," Cloete said on Snapped. "We know he was involved, he just had to tell the story. Paul wished to start a family with Angela and his new child Carl was to be removed from the picture." Phillips enlisted the assistance of Jake Bartlett. Bartlett said he knew someone who would kill Carl, a man who was named Trap. Phillips, Bartlett, and Trap visited Dickinson's home on September 5. First, they staged the robbery and stole a .22 caliber rifle from Carl's safe. They then waited for their victim. Bartlett and Trap hid behind a trailer while Phillips huddled in the garage. Paul said that when Carl started walking into the house, Trap ran up behind him with a rifle and began shooting, Taylor said. Phillips left for Florida immediately following the murder in order to establish his alibi. Angela was adamant she had nothing to do with the murder. Jake Bartlett was picked up at his residence in Nottesluga, Alabama. In addition to blaming Trap, Bartlett gave detectives Trap's real name, Travis Lamont Kyles. Later, he was apprehended in Atlanta. Although Bartlett's and Phillips' statements were similar, they differed in one important respect. "Jake told us Angela was the mastermind behind the scheme," Taylor explained to producers. According to Bartlett, Angela had asked him for months to assist in the killing of Carl. In fact, she offered to make him a payment from Carl Dickinson's 401k account. He claimed Angela set her husband up, calling him to track his whereabouts and relaying the information to Phillips so they knew when he would arrive home. Angela's phone seemed to back up that story, as it showed multiple calls to Carl and Phillips on the day of the murder. Angela was arrested on September 11, 2013 at the local health department where she was trying to get her child a social security card. Detectives believe Angela's pregnancy was the ticking time bomb which sealed Carl's fate. Angela was a little devil on the shoulder talking to Paul and Jake and getting them to do her will. She admitted that she was basically behind the whole idea of Carl getting killed, Cloete told Snapped. Angela Dickinson, Paul Phillips, Jake Bartlett, and Travis Kyles were charged with capital murder for the death of Carl Dickinson, Montgomery, Alabama. NBC affiliate WSFA reported at the time. They all pled guilty and got 30 years in prison each. Dickinson, Phillips, Bartlett, and Kyles will first be eligible for parole in 2028. However, their earliest release date is 2043.